Good morning. Okay, so we are already on week 6. This is going so fast. I'm having a blast with this. You're going to need for this session paper towels because, yay, it's going to get a little messy, which is fun, and your salt. So the salt I have, it doesn't have to be pure sea salt, but what you really want is coarse. And I'm going to show you the difference. What mine looks like. So it's pretty coarse. You can use regular salt, but you're not going to get a really interesting effect. The bigger the pieces, the better. So, all right, so let's get started here as I pour salt everywhere. All right, what a mess. All right, so the first one, which I put paper over, again, because I don't know if this will work with this, but I didn't leave room to write anything. But this is going to be Mr. Clean Eraser. So I cut a little piece off the clean erasers and paper towel. This is going to be salt. And this one's going to be water splatter. All right, so first, I don't know if I forgot if I told you to buy this, Mr. Clean Eraser. But if you did, you're going to, I have 2 sections to show you both techniques for the paper towel. This you're going to be paint, and then you're going to let it completely dry, because Mr. Clean Eraser is just more of a trick or a hack than a technique, but I wanted to show you. If you make a mistake or you want to take color off, you can use Mr. Clean Eraser, because apparently it takes off everything. It has actually taken off permanent black marker on my walls. One time the boys colored on my walls before guests are over, and I was like mortified, but I got it off. So you can, now this is, the trick is with watercolor, which I don't think I mentioned, even when you put washes on, if you scrub, especially when it's wet, you're going to start, the paper's going to start getting shredded, or the pulp. You want to always be gentle and not scrub at watercolor paper, because eventually you can scrub and it'll actually make a hole through your paper. So you're going to be gentle with this. As you see, that picked it right up with a couple of strokes. This is if you have like a little mistake and you want to, it's dry. You can use Mr. Clean Eraser. Okay, really simple. You probably have it in your house. Next one will work when it's wet, which we're actually going to use on our project today. So I'm going to get some wet brown here. I would like it a little. But this has got to be somewhat wet for this to work. And you're going to take a corner of a paper towel. I just ripped a piece off. And you're going to dab off. Okay? That's, really quickly, if you put color where you don't want it. Well, you can also use the lift feather off with the brush. But I'm actually going to be using this paper towel to make clouds in the sky today, which is kind of fun. The next one you have is salt. This is a really cool effect. I love this technique. I'm going to use, I'm going to go a little, I think this is more maroon. Now this also, you just got to know to play around with it, but you want it wet. To make it wet is really good, because what happens is the salt is actually going to soak up the water. However, you don't want it really watery like this. Like, you want it watery, but you still want to have a lot of color on there. So I'm going to put color, and then I'm going to add a little water, because I want a lot of color on there. And what you're going to do is take salt, and just put it over around. Now we might be able to see this. This has to be completely dry for you to see what it does, but it gives it a texture. It might not dry by the time the class is done. However, since we're doing a project with this, I do have a two-step process, and I do have it where you already dry that you can see what it looks like. So if this doesn't dry, I have something else to show you what it will look like. Okay? So you have to let that completely dry, let it soak, and then you get to rub the salt off, and it'll have like patches where it'd be lighter color where it sucked up the water. It just gives an interesting effect. Now the water splatter, this is really fun. So if you are doing this on part of your artwork, you gotta be careful because this will splatter everywhere. So like, I don't have a tablecloth here, but if you care about anything around the area you're splattering, you better cover it up. So I am going to put paper towel. I'm not going to worry about there, but let's just pretend, you know, I don't want it up there. Probably should put paper towel here too, but we'll see. So you want this paint, well before I get into the consistency of paint, if you have what you call a fan brush, this is really nice to use for water splatter. You don't need it, but if it came with your kit and you're like, I haven't used it yet, this will be a good one. Or any kind of round brush that isn't tight, that kind of has flowing bristles. This won't work as well because it's kind of like at a point. But even like, let's wash this off. Even a flat brush would work. So you're going to get paint. I'm going to use the fan brush just in case you have it, and I want to show you. You're going to get not completely wet paint, but not dry. You want to, remember like detail painting where it kind of just flowed off your brush? That's kind of the consistency you want. So what should I do? I really like purple. Now it can be fairly wet. It depends. If you want darker splatters, you're going to want not so much water in your paint. If you want light splatters, you water it down. So you're going to take a pencil, or in this case, another brush by just flipping around, and you're going to flick it. See, it just goes everywhere. That's why I cover more up here, because if you're flicking it this way, you got a little bit down here. So you do really want to cover up a lot. Okay, so that is water splatter, which is fun. All right, so you got right here, I'm going to lift this up. No paint. So you got your Mr. Clean eraser and paper towel. You got your salt and your water splatter. Okay. So we're going to do all three techniques. Well, the paper towel one, not the Mr. Clean eraser. That's more for mistakes. I'm going to try to move you up. I'm trying a different angle because I'm still trying to learn the knack of videotaping this. And I'm still learning, and I'm not sure what my favorite method is here. So I'm kind of painting over top of you today. But I'm hoping you can see better. Okay, so we are going to do a seascape. And there we go. So what I'm going to do, I am going to take blue. I should just show you what it looks like. We're going to have like a sand mound. And then like a ocean, okay? So I am going to actually do a regular wash like we did the first week. And I'm going to just do the entire wash of blue except for where I want the little sand mound right here. So you can use any blue. You don't have to use blue, but I'm using blue here. What kind of blue? I'm going going to go regular color. All right. So again, this is actually like the wash where you're going to paint with water first. Now here's where the mound is. So I'm going to let the water stop there. If it bleeds a little bit, it's not a big deal, but I'm just trying to leave that space open. I think I went all the way down, but you don't have to. I don't. Okay, I'm going to take my blue and make, just like before, a wash. Should use a bigger brush, but I don't feel like searching for my bigger one right now. I'm just gonna like follow it in that curve I made. I like this a little darker because it is the sky and we're going to be lifting up color with the paper towel. So you don't want to, I want to add more, I want to add kind of color to this. I'm going to keep going back till I get the darkness I want. If this was a bigger brush, you know what, I'm going to just do it. Probably smooth out a lot of this because this is so small. Okay. Now I'm going to take, you don't want this to dry too much yet, my flat brush. I'm going to draw the horizon where I want it. You can dip your brush again a couple times in the water. Just give me an idea where to make the clouds. And I'm going to take a corner of the paper towel, and at the horizon, I'm going to make some clouds. Different shapes. Okay, now since I kind of touched the ocean here, I'm going to go back and just sort of darken that, but I got my clouds in at least. Because it did get a little, I think I touched it. I want the ocean a little darker. I think the sky looks fairly good. It's almost the same color. So whatever darkness I tried to do for both. All right. Next, I'm going to take a yellow. And I'm just going to, actually I might use the same technique. I'm going to go over where I want the sand with a yellow. So I'm going to take some yellow ochre. Because sand isn't always bright yellow. Now this may bleed a little bit, and I'm not putting another, like, I'm not pre-doing this with water, make it, because it will run. I'm just sort of taking a wet brush here with water. If it bleeds, I will be covering this up. If you're doing this particular painting, it's fine, because we are going to be covering this up. It can bleed a little bit. I'm not that concerned. And what I can even do, let's see. Again, you can use your paper towel method again if you want to make a lighter spot. Why not here? Let's say you want it lighter down here. Just tap. Don't scrub real hard. You might have to use a different part of your paper towel. And I'm just for fun, I'm going to put on a little bit of bright yellow. Just to add different, make it more interesting. Alright, so you should have your clouds. Actually, I should go farther out. Your clouds, your sand mound, your ocean. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to add... See, this is what I do. I always change my mind. I'm going to add a little more cloud here. Just make it more predominant. Horizon. And then I might... See, that's the thing about art. You just adjust. Oh, man. I want to put a little more color here. This seems like it got too late. There we go. Anyway, play around with it. Okay? All right. That's what you should start out with. And then you're going to have to let it dry before you add the details. This salt is still soaping wet here. I don't think we're going to see that. But I'll show you. Oh, yeah, duh. I am getting ahead of myself here. So when this is still wet, I'm going to add more color because now I remember why I want to add more color. I have a mind green today, so I'm probably not up to... I'm not 100% with it today. But that's okay. I don't think artists are anyway. So you're going to do your salt technique right on the ocean there. So just make sure it's enough water to soak it up. Now you can do it in clumps. You could do the whole thing. Doesn't matter. I don't really want it on my, so I might brush it off my sand here. Although it would look interesting on the sand. In fact, you can just do the sand part if you want. You don't, I'm doing the splatter technique on the sand, so, but you can even reverse it. You can do the splatter technique here and do the salt for the sand. It does not matter. All right. That's what you should end up with before you move on. This is actually coming off, but it's still wet. I don't want to, so we'll show you I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to move you up here. Oh, if I drop you, I apologize. So, if you can see the interesting texture, this is already rubbed off and dry. It just makes like some circles and like some of it's light. I really like the look. It's just, that's what it should end up being. Oop, I moved you too much. Okay, now we're going to add some detail here. Now the reason why I didn't do the splatter over here is because if this is wet and you splatter paint, the water is going to make it run and you're going to get more splotchier splatters. If you like that, that's fine. I'm not going for that. I wish I did that one time and it looked kind of blotchy. So that's why I wanted to wait for this to dry. Now I'm going to do the splatter first, only because I'm going to want to add some foliage and plants here. I don't want the splatter to go on there. So I'm going to splatter this first, then add the detail. So I'm going to take my paper towel. You can come in, Ethan. Just don't yell. My boys are like, oh my goodness, she's videoing. All right, so I'm going to cover this as much as I can with the paper towel. All right, I'm going to use, I guess it's a light brown. Which one? Oh, I have trouble deciding all the time. This looks like a raw umber or something. I might even want to use a bright yellow, but I don't know. I'm going to try with the brown first. Alright. I'm just going to flick it a little bit to create like sand. You don't have to overdo it. You can do it like this impression. I don't think yellow will work, but let's give it a go. I'm going to use a brighter yellow, see if it comes up. Yeah, you can't, you can see, if you look closely, you can actually see it. It gives it more texture. It's just not bright. I think that's good. So before it dries, take your, okay, nothing came on this. You can quick wipe it off with like a wet rag if this is dry, and then you won't have it everywhere. Okay, next we're going to do, I'm going to put some plant life here. We're going to do our stiffling, scrumbling technique. I forget when we learned that. That was, what week was that? I think that was like the 3rd week. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. So I'm going to just tap, tap, tap. Go down like a little bit. I might not even cover the whole thing. That kind of, I'm going to do a patch there because I kind of decided to. Okay, now you're going to take your liner brush. I did not get prepared as much as I thought today. I'm looking for my liner brush here. I apologize. For some reason I can't find it. Oh, this is fun. There it is. I got it. Your liner brush. The skinny long one. Mine is all backwards today, so bear with me. And then we're just going to do simple. I'm a little high there, but this is like your detail painting. Or if you want, you can even dry brush it. Just now you can use your liner brush for this, or if you have what you call a spotter brush. I don't know what kits you brought, but a spotter brush is like, it's like a liner brush but it's short. So the liner brush is good for like lawn, like grass. These are good for like dots and real detail work. I'm going to use both to show you. So I am putting yellow on here. So if you have a spotter brush, you're just gonna tap dots. It's kind of another technique, but this is, I will put this in the detail painting category. Okay, now if you have a liner brush, which you can do the same thing because it is a point, or if you have a really good round brush with a nice point. I have one that almost does better than my line. In fact, it does do better than my liner brush when it comes to detail painting, and I cannot find another brush like it. I'm trying to go everywhere and look for it, but you can do the same thing with your liner brush here. I hate when I find a good brush, because when I find a really perfect brush, I can't find it again. I have this one I use for blending on the canvas for when I was doing portraits, and I can't find the brush anywhere. So mad. Anyway, sorry about my rants. And I like to put some seagulls in the background. This is actually where I would use black. I don't usually use a lot of black because it dulls the painting, but in this case, this isn't so bad. This is simple. You've probably done this in grade school, I don't know, but I'm just using anything with a fine point and doing the little V's. Because what's a beach without seagulls stealing your food, right? All right. So that's it for the example today. So I have here your, paper towel technique. Let's go over all that. You got a wash first, paper towel technique, you got your salt technique, you got your splatter technique, your scrum technique, your detail painting technique. So now you see, as we're going on, that you're finding you can bring in a whole bunch of techniques, and you'll find you use them interchangeably with your work. So, all right, so we'll give this a go. I'd love to see what you come up with. Even give me a comment what you think, if you like this salt technique or the splatter technique, and what's your favorite. I just like fun, funky stuff. So, all right, so let me know what you come up with. All right, until next week, see you then.